Hello, I'm Kimberly, and welcome to the weekend edition of the Nave News Update. It's Friday, April 25th, and many of the stories you hear here can be found at IndianCountryNews.com. And here's the news for the day from the Associated Press and other Native news sources. Inside a sand-colored tribal courthouse set amid the land of the Pascua Yaqui people, the law backed by the Obama administration and passed by Congress last year is facing its first critical test. Tribal Police Chief Michael Valenzuela drove through darkened desert streets, turned into a Circle K convenience store, and pointed to the spot beyond the reservation line where his officers used to take the non-Indian men who battered Indian women. About 3 weeks ago at 2:45 a.m., the tribal police were called to the reservation home of an Indian woman who was allegedly being assaulted in front of her 2 children. They said her 36-year-old non-Indian husband, Elroy Figueroa Lopez, had pushed her down on the couch and was violently choking her with both hands. This time the Yaqui police were armed with a new law that allowed Indian tribes, which have their own justice system, to prosecute non-Indians. Instead of driving Lopez to the Circle K and telling him to leave the reservations, they arrested him. The Pascua Yaqui, along with 2 other tribes chosen by the Justice Department for a pilot project allowing the prosecution of non-tribal men, received the go-ahead to begin enforcing the law a year ahead of the country's other 563 tribes because tribal officials made the case they were able to protect the rights of the accused. The second Monday in October will now be referred to as Indigenous Peoples Day rather than Columbus Day on all official city communications in Minneapolis, Minnesota, following a unanimous City Council vote on April 25th. The resolution brought hundreds of people to City Hall to commemorate the vote, which Native American activists have been seeking for many years. The language of the resolution notes that the federal government, state government, and city government still recognize Columbus Day in accordance with the federal holiday established in 1937. City Attorney Susan Siegel said some ordinances and collective bargaining agreements, not to mention a few parking meters, still mention Columbus Day. But the new holiday will be reflected on city messaging that includes the official calendar of the City Council and committee meetings. Both State Representative Susan Allen, the first Native American woman elected to the legislature, and U.S. Representative Keith Ellison said before the vote that they were interested in making similar efforts at a state and federal level. Yurok tribal tradition holds the California condor as sacred, with ancient stories saying the giant bird flies closest to the sun and are the best messengers to carry prayers. Now, after 5 years of research, the tribe has received permission to release captive-bred condors into the Redwood Coast, where the giant bird hasn't soared for more than a century. Yurok officials signed a memorandum of understanding last month with state and federal agencies and a condor conservation group, allowing for test releases as a final assessment of whether the region can support the endangered birds. Tribal biologist Chris West said the first releases could come in the next 1 to 3 years. Meetings will begin in July to work out protocols and select a release site. The return of the condor is part of the Yurok environmental work, along with efforts to restore salmon numbers and improve forest health. In an unprecedented victory in the campaign to save Earth's most threatened tribe, the Brazilian government has announced that all invaders have now been removed from the Awa indigenous territory in eastern Amazon rainforest. The news comes exactly 2 years after Survival International and Hollywood star Colin Firth launched a high-profile international campaign to save the Awa from extinction, setting a new record in the history of survival and its efforts to protect the land of indigenous tribes. Under unprecedented international pressure, the Brazilian government sent a ground squad of hundreds of agents to remove illegal cattle ranchers and loggers from the land of the Awa in January of 2014. After an overflight of the area last week, the public prosecutor and judge working on the case handed the Awa an official document confirming that all non-Indians have now been removed from their territory. Survival is now calling on the Brazilian authorities to put in place a permanent land protection program to keep the invaders out of the Awa territory. A 3-year contract dispute over the Grand Canyon Skywalk is now over. The Hualapai Tribe, which owns the horseshoe-shaped glass bridge on the northwestern Arizona reservation, and the family of the Las Vegas businessman who developed it have reached financial settlement. The terms of the agreement are confidential, but it resolves all legal battles in tribal, bankruptcy, and federal court. The tribe maintains management of the skywalk that has been the signature of its tourism operation since it opened in 2007. Tribal Chairwoman Sherry Counts thanked David Jin, the businessman who developed the skywalk, in a statement for his contributions to the popular attraction. And that's another roundup of news from Indian Country on this edition of the Nave News Update. I'd like to thank you for joining me and have a grand day.